Hi, I'm going to show you 2 ways to make festive Noel Christmas cards from simple to stepped up using the Stampin' Up! Festive Words stamp set. The Festive Words stamp set is great for gift tags, but the images are easily large enough for handmade Christmas cards, as you'll see in just a moment. I'm Shelley Godby, and for 23 years, I've been teaching you how to create hand-stamped smiles through my YouTube videos, my Stamping Smiles blog, and my mailing list. I'll show you a couple tips and tricks I did to make my simple cards stand out. Here's a closer view of the Festive Words stamp set. Now, this is from the September through December 2024 Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog, and if I refer to it again in this video, it'll be called the Holiday Catalog. And one of my sweet stampers called me last week and she says, the Festive Words stamp set, this is the most underrated stamp set in the whole mini catalog. And, it's not part of a bundle, so it's tucked away closer to the back, and maybe you missed it too. And these are fantastic. And so look how big these images are, and they're only pictured at 90%. So they're even bigger than what you're seeing. Well, here we go. So that 10% more makes a difference, and definitely big enough for a handmade Christmas card. So we're going to start with some die cutting and embossing. And what I have here are the Deckled Circles dies. And I have mine stored on a magnet card from Stampin' Storage, a different company from Stampin' Up, but they have products to keep your stamping supplies beautifully organized, my goodness. And your craft room, you could deck it out like no one's business. They have for your cardstock and ink pads and markers, all kinds of markers. And look how super strong these are. They aren't falling off. I just love these. And then I go ahead and store them in a storage pocket. And so you've got the codes right there. And if later on you can go and watch on the video. So you follow the links because you want the storage pockets. I accidentally ordered sleeves, and that wasn't, I use them for something else, but for the dies, you want the magnet cards, and you can get these in different sizes, but the storage pockets. So, okay. So, and then I will be using also the snowflake. Look how pretty this is. 3D embossing folder. So I'll die cut and emboss my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And so let me grab that and we will just whip those right out. So I've got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and don't you just love how it folds up? It's such a low profile. I store it on a shelf, actually with the mini behind it, because they both fold up. And so you just take these down and you are ready to go. So what we're going to do is start with the embossing. Okay, I like to get that handle out of the way whenever I can. And so for embossing, I need to build what's called a sandwich. And so I'll start with a plate number 1. And this comes with the purchase of a Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And then I need my Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder. Beautiful. All right, so, and then our cardstock inside, and I chose the Willow White 12 by 12 cardstock. This is something new, and I thought, oh, this would be fun. It's not as thick as the basic white. I thought, well, let's give it a try. So I'm placing this. Do you see where the snowflakes are more sparse at the top and they get, as they come down, heavier? So I'm placing it where I want that. And you want the hinge to go through first. Super easy to remember. Just have the Stampin' Up! Logo facing you. And then because it's a 3D embossing folder, it's thicker than the regular embossing folders. You need a plate number 4, a specialty plate. And this also comes with the purchase of a Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. But if you've got a die cutting machine with the same size plates, for example, the Big Shot, this is available to purchase separately. So we'll place this on here and go ahead and crank it through. And the 3D just does an amazing job. So let me back up. So I'm back into the screenshot and we'll have a look at this. So, it's white embossed, but the texture is going to add a lot to our simple card instead of just a piece of white cardstock. Isn't this beautiful? Okay, so now we need to die cut, and I showed you the deckled circles dies. So I could use plate number 1 and plate number 2 to get to the appropriate thickness for a thin metal die, but instead I am going to use magnetic platform that I picked up on Amazon. And I've got the link under the video. You can pick one up too. And there are magnets to hold our metal dies in place. And so what I need is a cutting plate. You know, and before with the platform, I didn't need a cutting plate because I wasn't cutting, but we're cutting. I need to protect the platform now, okay? And so then what I have here is some basic white thick cardstock. And I'm using the thick because I'm going to watercolor, and this will hold up to that a lot better. And then my circle die from the deckled circles. We'll place that on there. And did you hear the magnets grab that? And then I need another plate number 3. Okay, and then we'll crank this through. And again, I'm not backing up because I need 2 passes through to die cut, because this does a beautiful job, even on intricate dies with 1 pass through, just coming back into the screen. And so the deckled circles are pretty cool because, you know, you've got smooth, but then that decal adds a decorative touch for us. So I need to die cut another one of those, and then we will continue. Our die cutting and embossing is done. So the first time that I stamped this, I watercolored. And, you know, as often, right, you're not always pleased with the first thing you did. And I pulled out some more basic white thick cardstock. And then I turned it over and saw and I had a piece that was left over on the other side. I had used the blending brushes and had 2 tones. I thought, ooh, and stamped over it. I thought, that's really pretty. And then I adjusted my colors. So I started off doing that, right, with the blending brushes. And so I got out my waffle flower because the silicone mat holds things in place. A lot of times I use these with the decorative masks and to hold it in place while I was doing all of that. Well, I changed my mind and decided instead to still watercolor, but create a watercolor wash background and with Pool Party. So you know what? I'm still using this because it's going to get wet and it's going to protect my surface. I mean, underneath me, I have a silicone mat, but I want to be able to keep stamping. And so this I'll be able to put aside. So I've got the Pool Party. Now I can press down to get ink into the lid, but I'm going to be doing a lot. So instead, what I did, I opened it up and then I have the Pool Party refill. Okay, so we're going to put a couple drops in here, and this just works out really well. That stops me from needing to do, you know, a lot of squeezing, and because I'm going to be making a lot of cards this month, and that's another reason I need to keep this simple. So the first one, you know, it's going to be, you know, this elegant Noel. Oh, so pretty in this stamp. Isn't that gorgeous? But with a simple classic design with wintry colors, you know, and that touch of texture. So I have, this is one of the water painters, and it comes in the set of 3. So I'm going to squeeze, look at that, get some water in here and thin this out. Because that's, you know, pretty intense color. And I want that to be lighter. And so look, this is going to go a good long ways. So now I've got this big brush, and I really do have a thing for the brush strokes, you know, it's in the DSP and everything else. And so I'm just going to put some on here. There we go. My goal wasn't to fill in the whole thing. And while I have this, because, you know, I'm going to do 2 because I'm going to do the stepped up version. So let's see. So every one of these will be unique, which is a lot of fun. And I will just store this in here, because this will store itself upside down. So this will be ready for me to do a lot of these. Okay, so this is going to take a little bit of time to dry. So to save time, I have a couple that are already done, okay? And like I said, every one of them's unique. And I stamped mine, and I'm going to use the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad because I'm still going to use my Stampin' blends. And so you want to use the Tuxedo Black with that. And so the wet can warp it a little bit, but look, it's just right back out. And I didn't put anything on it to try to flatten it or anything. And so I stamped it, and I have this on a Clear Mount Block D. but because it was watercolored, it just wasn't as deep as I wanted. And I thought, boy, I'd like that if it was a lot deeper in order to, and so then the second time I pressed really hard. Well, you know, you catch ink inside and I made a mess. And I thought, no, Shelley, you have a tool for that. And for that, I have the Misty. And so this is a stamp positioning tool, and I will show you how this works. So I made myself a template, and we just die cut with the Deckled Circles dies. So I made myself a template and set this on here, and the magnets are going to hold this in place. And I like this when it's on a little bit of a slant. And even though I'm not fitting it perfectly in there, it is close enough. And here we go. These magnets are really strong, and you want them to be, but there we go. And I know this will hold my template in place and this. And so this is how you do it. So instead of the clear mount block, this becomes our stamp mount. So I'm going to place this exactly where I want it. It's not inked, so I can move it around, get it just where I want it. Look at that. And that is looking pretty doggone good. And so then when I close it, now this is a red rubber stamp, it clings to it. You can use photopolymer stamps, and a foam mat comes to make up the difference of the red rubber. So now that I have that, I've got my placement, and look, it's going to go right where I want it. And so now we just ink it up. And the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad. Get this good and inked up. And so my Misty is wonderful for those times I use it. I don't use it all the time, but this was one of those occasions, you know, where you're doing a lot of multiples, it's really handy, or something like this that I wanted the placement, because I actually want to stamp it twice. So now I'm just pressing. And I'm going to ink and do it again, and it's going to go exactly where I just stamped it. So that's not bad, but you're going to like this a lot deeper, and I will show you a sample later of it stamped just once. So the purchase of a Misty, this isn't from Stampin' Up. I have a link under the video where you can pick one up on Amazon. And it's an investment, but when you need it, it really comes in handy. You know, you're doing your Christmas cards, you're going to do a whole lot of the same thing. You just set up your Misty. You don't always need to make a template. It's just I'm stamping on a die cut, and look how rich and deep that is now. That is just stunning against that watercolor wash. So I will stamp my other one, and then we'll come back and I'll finish first the you know, the classic design, and then we'll do the stepped up version. There's just something about this, the simplicity. I just like, oh, I just love that. But again, I like a watercolor wash. So we are going to add some color though with some Stampin' Blends, again, for the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad. And what I have here is Granny Apple Green in Real Red. I'm going to start with the Granny Apple Green Dark. And you can do it either way. You could do your shading before or after. And I'm the little stems, not stems, the veins. And then on these lines, almost looks like rope. Okay, so this is going to be quick, which is nice. And I'm using the bullet end because I've got small images. And I fooled around with colors. And the Granny Apple Green just was nice and warm, like the pool party. And so the colors look good together. There we go, color that in. And then we have our berries, and I've got the Real Red. And so on the, do you see the reflection area, right? It's lighter, so I'm going to use the lighter red, a little bit more vibrant, I think. Instead of leaving those black, I'm going to use the Real Red Dark blend and give it some color. There we go. And super simple in the winter colors. And then I fooled around, you know, I just kept fooling around. So you know we have our snowflakes. And I just really like this against Pool Party. And, you know, my favorite adhesive ever, if you follow me are Stampin' Dimensionals. So this is going to step up, you know, my simple card with the dimensionals. There's just something about adding that dimension that does so much for them. Okay, so 3 should be good. So these foam adhesive dots. And I designed and I walked away and I came back and decided to add more dimensionals, not right here, but on another layer. Okay. And so we will put this right about there. And it just feels like all kinds of snow. And so instead of just doing a white base, I end up layering this again on some Pool Party. Isn't this pretty? And anytime you emboss, things aren't nice and smooth. And the Stampin' Seal is great for that, but we got the Stampin' Seal Plus that's meant for heavier, you know, for embellishments and all that. So 1 inch in each corner, or I could use mini glue dots. I just like how quick and easy it is to dispense. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Those snowflakes are just stunning. All right, and so I had this on here, and I thought that looks really pretty, you know, a simple classic card, but I wanted to dress it up. And even though it's just white against the white, it framed it and dressed it up. Isn't that nice? So now everything is really nice and flat, so my Stampin' Seal would work, but I've got the plus right here. There we go. And so I have this cut the same from top to bottom, but it's the sides. There we go. And you know what? There's a link under the video to my cards with the measurements, so it'll be really easy for you to duplicate. So you can just follow that link to my blog post. And I have the supplies there, as well as a downloadable PDF with the card sketch too. And so, and when I went to bed, I had it laying flat, and in the middle, when I woke up, I thought, oh, Shelly, you can dress this up a little bit with more dimensionals. Just the different layers and height of them make a difference. And part of it, I believe, is it creates a shadow, which is attractive. And the dimensionals, if they come off easily for you like they are for me right now, great. If not, just press down with your thumbnail. It makes that edge pop up. And so you can peel those off easily enough. So, whoops, one's clinging to me. All right, and there we go. A classic design that just really is pleasing to the eye. And there we go. So now we're going to step one up. Oh, before I do that, let me show you the difference. So this one, you see I stamped once, and then is just, to me, a much better card with it deeper, using the Misty to be able to stamp that twice in the same place, and just really like that. So the stepped up. Our stepped up version is going to get some bling, and I'm going to start with the Real Red and White Baker's Twine from the holiday catalog. Oh, pretty, pretty, pretty. And just tie a simple bow around the bottom. There we go. I thought about just having this done because it's just tying a bow. I thought, we'll just spend a few more moments together as I do this. Okay. So I told you that I'll have the measurements. The measurements are, you know, a link to it under the video. It was just really helpful because I've looked at cards and, you know, especially samples out of the catalog, and I want to remake them. And I may have the supplies, but then I'm guessing at the sizes, and it'll just save you a lot of time. There won't be any guessing that way. Okay. There we go. Just once around. I just want it really clean and simple like the rest of the card. Often, you know, we'll wrap 3 times. And the tails always tend to go away from my body, so I tie upside down. I thought, why fight it? Figured that out a long time ago. It just may be the style of my bow tying. And I work off the roll because it saves a lot, because I don't need to overcut it. you know, to have enough to hang on to. And look at that. Oh, not bad, and it's not twisted. Yay. Okay, so this is at the bottom of the card, so I don't want to leave these super long. And, you know, depending where they were, I like the super long, but I don't want it hanging down off the bottom real far. So let's bring this down a little bit. And I always tie tight enough. I don't need adhesive. But one of my sweet stampers always puts a mini glue dot behind the little bow, and that's okay. All right, and so I then thought, ooh, I want real red. And I didn't find any real red, and so I thought, well, I will make my own. So what these are the rhinestone basic jewels. And did you know, this is really cool if you didn't, that you can take a Stampin' blend and make them the color you want? And so here we go. And I'm using the dark because the color was more vibrant than the light. And it dries. It's like, how in the world does a non-porous surface, does the ink dry? But it does, and pretty doggone quickly. So let's take my Take Your Pick tool. I always press down, look, and so that the adhesive is sticking to the gem and not to the acetate sheet. And we'll place it. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And, whoops, I lost it. See, and I'm sure I used, oh, there it is. I didn't press down. Okay. Here we go. And our third one. So, fantastic. Isn't that pretty? Now that is a stepped up card. So, I had tried real red behind this layer, and it just wasn't working. That's how I end up finally with the white, either just nothing, and then I finally went to the white. But now that I have the red embellishments, the red works for me. Like, oh, I like it. So because I have something behind here not allowing it to lay flat, this is when I'll use the Stampin' Seal again. That's a lot of pressure for just the Stampin' Seal. I'll use the Stampin' Seal Plus, excuse me. This is meant for the extra heavy duty. There we go. Sometimes I have to help it along. And then there we go. So it won't take much if you enjoy my classic Christmas card to step it up. But you know, it looks a little twisted. Okay, there we go. And so you can do either or both. You know, a perfectly lovely classic Christmas card or a stepped up one with the Festive Words stamp set. And as my sweet stamper said, in her mind, the most underrated one in the holiday catalog. And so if you didn't notice it before, I hope you enjoyed spending a little time with me making Christmas cards. If you'd like to make either or both of my festive Noel Christmas cards, all the supplies are listed below the video and available to order now in my online store, www.shopwithshelly.com. When you place your November 2024 Stampin' Up! Order of $50 or more with me, I'm going to send you one of my festive Noel cards. And when you bump that order up to $50 or more, I'm going to send you one of my stepped up versions of my Festive Words cards. So get on over now to my online store, www.shopwithshelly.com. I'm Shelly Godby, teaching you how to create hand stamped smiles. Thanks for watching, and God bless.